The Lily Clara letters are our most adventurous story. It's a Wild West story that centers around the silver mine collapse that happened in Frisco, Utah in the 1880s. It's also a story that explores there's a treasure hunt as well as a ghost story, and it also focuses heavily on an issue that was really a kind of a big deal in Utah, which was the women's suffrage movement. I think with every collection that I write for the flower letters, there's always one or two letters that I really love. This part of the story that they tell, or how it came together or whatnot, they just are like my babies of the collection. And with Lily Clara is no different. There's actually a couple of moments in that collection that I really love a lot. And the first one is when Lily gets to Frisco and meets the man that she has come out there to marry because of the mail order bride ad that she answered. That's classic Lily moment where she really shows her spunk, and I really love that one. Other moments or letters in the collection that I really love are whenever the ghost character shows up. Those are very fun to me, and I really love that aspect of the story because in Frisco and Frisco's history, there really is a legend of a white widow. She's called the Widow in White for Frisco. I changed it a little because I liked the way that it flowed a little bit more, but there is a legend about this this widow, and that's what the ghost story is based off of. And I just love how there are times when you can actually do that as a writer. You can take the actual history or the inspiration and you can fit it into your story, and I just love how that kind of stuff works out, because not only can you fit it in, but then you can kind of imagine, well, why is it this way, and kind of explore that story a little bit and give that that element of history a little bit more life, even though it's probably not true, but you are taking liberties as the writer, and as it being historical fiction, not actual history. But that's always just a fun thing to do, to take actual elements of history and kind of explore a little why and what if, you know. So those are some of my favorite elements and favorite letters that take place in the Lily Clara collection. The most interesting aspects of the Wild West that I knew that I definitely wanted to put into the Lily Clara letters was, one, the adventures portion of it, the treasure hunting, the outlaws, and the mail order bride aspect. All of those things that are in there are parts of Wild West history, or, you know, the settlement of the West that I have always found fascinating, and have read many stories that in some little way ended up influencing the final product of Lily Clara. But one of the most important and most pertinent aspects of Wild West history that definitely made it into the story, and I knew would make it into the story, is the issue of women's rights and the very difficult lives and challenges that women had to face during the 1880s in particular. Because that is the height of the women's suffrage movement. That's when women were not only lobbying for their right to own property, to be their own masters, to vote, but they were lobbying to be considered as actual individuals with souls. One of the biggest questions of the time period was, do women have souls? And that has always been a fascinating and very important topic for me in being just being a woman, but also how important it is to not only understand that history and what was sacrificed in order to enable me as a woman to be able to vote today, but how to make sure that I'm educated enough to maintain those rights. And so writing Lily Clara and finding a way to explore those things, particularly concerning women's rights, came very naturally because Utah plays such a big role in the suffrage movement. There was a huge suffragette community in Utah at the time. Utah was had the first women voter. We weren't given the right to vote first. That happened in Wyoming, but Utah actually, the first women to vote actually voted in Utah. And I thought that was a really important aspect of history in general to explore. And it just so happened that it worked out perfectly to be explored at the exact same time as all the other things that it made it into the story. So yeah, so there was lots to explore, but those were the ones that I felt were the most interesting and important to me to explore. So hopefully you find that as well.